Hi, this is the fifth in a series of videos developed by GrayLine Partners to explain GrayLine's model for pricing, analyzing, and presenting interest rate derivatives. In this video, we're going to talk about the volatility assumptions that are built into the model. We're going to answer some specific questions around volatility, namely, what is volatility used for in pricing an interest rate swap? It's a swap, it's not an option. Why do we need volatility? How do we estimate the proper volatility? You've asked that before. Is it arbitrary? What vol should we use? Where do we get that? And what is the benefit of looking at the term structure of volatility in order to estimate flat volatility? So let's go. We've been entering a flat volatility here. This is the input screen. Obviously, we've been entering a flat volatility here on the opening tab, the inputs tab, and we select this cell labeled flat volatility and enter our best guess at a short rates volatility. So the first question is why? Why do we need this volatility number? Why are we doing this? Good question. The answer lies in the risks associated with offering swaps. Namely, it's the contingent credit risk. I'm going over here because these are listed. The contingent credit risk, the cost of collateral, the funding cost, the risk of increased capital charges that must be considered when pricing these swaps. And these are all contingent on changes in the future short rates that will in turn affect the future exposure associated with the transaction in question. So we need to understand what the additional cost of these risks are, and we need to be covering these risks somehow. And GrayLine's framework for determining the cost of risk does that by incorporating a short rate volatility into its exposure algorithm. The volatility input is used along with the number of standard deviations here, or the confidence interval, in the movement of interest rates. But flat volatility isn't always the best representation of the movement in short rates over the life of an interest rate swap, especially if it's historical volatility as opposed to implied volatility. So moving right along, you've asked what is the best way to estimate the proper volatility? Is it arbitrary? Where do you get that benchmark? These are all good questions. So at this point, we're still using flat volatility, but the model has some built-in tools to help the user estimate the appropriate flat volatility. You can still enter that flat volatility as before here in this cell, but now you can right mouse click on that cell, and when you do, the model displays a chart of implied volatility. So it says override volatility assumption. Let's take a closer look at this and see how to use this information. First, you can see that there are 15 volatility points in the term structure of implied at-the-money 3-month LIBOR cap volatility. They range from 1 year to 30 years. The model selected this point here that is the closest to the term of the loan. So you see the 5-year volatility point is green. Here's the 5-year with the display of the actual volatility at that point. And the term of the loan, you can see, is also 5 years. If it were 5.1 years or some such thing, it would round to the nearest whole number because that's the volatility point that we have. The red line shows the volatility the model is presently using, so what has been input into that cell already. So 35 is this red line that goes all the way across here. So here's the term structure, 1 year to 30 years. Here's what's in there, what we're using now. Here is the volatility point that is closest to the term of the loan. So from here you've got several decisions to make. If you like the volatility that the model's using, that's the red line on the chart, just simply press the cancel button. And when you do, the model keeps using that rate, in this case 35. The existing estimate is 35, and hitting the cancel just leaves it there. So back to the chart. You say, okay, 35 might be a good estimate of volatility for, say, a longer dated transaction, but it might be too low for a 5-year swap like the one we're pricing here. If we want to use the 5-year implied volatility as our flat vol, and 57 does seem like a more reasonable vol here, then we need only to press OK. When we do that, it dumps that estimate, that implied volatility number, into the flat volatility place on our spreadsheet, and there you go. Now, one more time, let's go back to that chart, right mouse click. We see this again. Notice that the red line has changed because the number that we put in there is now the same as the 5-year volatility point. The range between 1 year and 30 years it's a huge range. We go from 1 year, a little over 70%, to 30 years, it's 32%. So if you want to be really conservative here, you could say, well, I want to use this higher volatility, in which case you might select that, or 2 years 68, 3 years 65, and press OK. Again, it changes that volatility. I guess the only remaining question is, where in the model are these implied volatilities coming from? Where are they coming from before they get to the model, and where are they stored in the model? I take a look over here at the rates tab, and I see that where the Fed rates come in and the Bloomberg rates come in for LIBOR and swap rates and basis. Next to that, we've got the implied volatilities, implied cap volatilities for 3-month LIBOR-based caps. They're brought in to in the same way that the other Bloomberg rates are brought in. They're available in Bloomberg. They're probably available other places. These are also stored in the model like the other rates are. We'll have to go into that at a later time. As always, you can learn more about us on our website. That's GrayLinePartners.com.